11 minutes. That is how long it took a 6-man SAS team to locate, neutralize, and extract from a target compound that American intelligence had been circling for 47 days. 47 days of drone footage, 47 days of signals intercept, 47 days of satellite passes, tens of millions of dollars in surveillance technology pointed at one building in one district of Baghdad. The SAS found the man inside in 11 minutes. Not because they had better technology, they did not. Not because they had more men, they had fewer. They found him because the man running the operation had been trained to do exactly this since the age of 22, in the mountains of Wales, in the rain, alone, with nothing but a compass and the certainty that no one was coming to help him. That is the difference the Pentagon never accounted for. And when they finally saw it, when they watched the feeds, read the after-action reports, and tallied the numbers, the memo from the Joint Special Operations Command was not a criticism, it was an admission. The year was 2006. Baghdad was being eaten alive from the inside. Al-Qaeda in Iraq had become a sophisticated logistical machine. Dedicated bomb factories, financing routed through informal banking systems across 3 countries, and a targeting methodology that had killed over 3,000 Iraqi civilians in the preceding 12 months alone. American conventional forces had numbers, firepower, air cover. What they did not have was speed. The time between identifying a target and putting boots through that target's front door was measured in hours, sometimes days. In that gap, people died. Into that gap walked Task Force Black. Fewer than 60 operators, 60 men from 22 SAS, supported by elements of the Special Boat Service and specialist intelligence personnel from 18 Signal Regiment, responsible for dismantling a network that American forces with 100 times their numbers had failed to crack. The Pentagon's own assessment had flagged the problem. Too few, insufficient helicopter assets. Rules of engagement too cautious for the kinetic reality on the ground. The warning was overruled. Within 6 months, the same planning cells that wrote that warning were producing urgent requests for expanded British involvement. Task Force Black was doing something no amount of technology had managed. They were finding people before those people could run. To understand why, you have to understand what the SAS actually is, not the version in the films, the real version. Selection runs for 4 weeks in the Brecon Beacons. Candidates, already elite soldiers, march carrying loads up to 30 kilograms across terrain that can include winds of 60 miles per hour, waist-deep bog, and visibility that can drop to 10 meters without warning. The distances increase. The time limits tighten. There are no second chances. Miss a checkpoint by 60 seconds and you are on a truck back to base. Of 200 candidates who begin, between 140 and 170 are gone before final test week. The culminating event is the long drag. It is a solo navigation march of 64 kilometers with 25 kilograms on your back plus your weapon, to be completed in under 20 hours, alone, in whatever weather the Welsh mountains choose to deliver. Since 1960, candidates have died on these hills. Not metaphorically. They have literally died. The system is not looking for the fastest or the strongest. It is looking for the man who keeps functioning when his body has told him to stop and his mind has agreed. A former training officer put it plainly, that quality cannot be taught. It can only be discovered. Those who survive continue to close-quarter battle training at the Killing House in Hereford. Live ammunition, thousands of rounds, scenarios designed to train instinctive target discrimination at ranges where hesitation is death. By completion, an SAS operator has fired an estimated 5,000 rounds in that building alone. He can breach a door, discriminate targets, and engage every threat with aimed shots to the head and torso in under 2 seconds. His hands move before his brain has finished processing. In Baghdad in 2006, American ISR operators watching drone feeds above SAS target compounds started timing the room clearances. They stopped using stopwatches. The intervals were too short. Task Force Black did not cordon and search. They identified specific individuals, mapped specific patterns, and arrived through specific doors with no warning. Surveillance teams were in position for 48 hours or more. Entry teams approached in unmarked civilian vehicles, a technique perfected on the streets of Belfast since 1969, and entered through the front door before the occupants registered the sound. From vehicle dismount to extraction, rarely more than 15 minutes. And then the intelligence cycle began. Every phone, laptop, and document went to the fusion center at Baghdad within the hour. New target packages were ready before operators finished debriefing the previous hit. There were nights the same four-man team went through 3 separate doors in 5 hours. Each raid was triggered by intelligence from the one before. The network in central Baghdad in spring 2007 comprised between 80 and 220 operatives. Task Force Black started at the periphery and worked inward for 90 days. The outer ring fell, then the middle tier, then the core. Between 87 and 212 operatives were removed from the battlefield. They were killed, captured, or fled and never returned. Spectacular attacks in central Baghdad dropped by over 60%. An American general officer speaking at a classified briefing later referenced in congressional testimony was unambiguous. Task Force Black achieved with 60 men what we could not achieve with 6,000. They did not degrade the network. They collapsed it. The Pentagon's follow-up assessment in 2008 concluded that the British task force had demonstrated a ratio of capability to numbers unmatched by any other coalition element in the Iraq theater. The senior American officer who had originally endorsed the warning against British expansion later told his British counterpart something no procurement budget had ever captured. "We measured you by our standards. We should have measured you by yours." 200 fighters did not vanish because of better equipment. They vanished because 60 men had been built over decades in the hills of Wales and the corridors of Hereford into something no drone, no satellite, and no billion-dollar platform could replicate. The capacity to walk through a door in the dark at the absolute limit of human endurance and still be faster, more precise, and more lethal than the man waiting on the other side. That is what selection finds. That is what the Killing House builds. That is what Task Force Black deployed into Baghdad. Move aside, the professionals are here.